Feeling lonely while being in a relationship is one of the most painful and misunderstood experiences that a person can have. On the one hand, you're living or lying next to someone who you know really well and care about a lot, and at the same time, you feel miles apart, disconnected, and lonely. It's such a paradox, and it can be incredibly disheartening and even painful. You might even have identified that you're feeling more like roommates than anything romantic. And this is something that I see a lot of in the couples in my private practice. Conversations tend to stay logistical, emotional needs go unspoken or feel awkward just to name, and bids for connection just don't land. And I see that this leaves people longing for more connection and really sad because that connection doesn't feel reliable or at all nourishing. They're thinking about the future of their relationship with a lot of anxiety, quietly wondering if this is just it, or deeply afraid that this emotional distance is permanent or going to get worse. So if we've not officially met, my name is Oliver and I'm a couples therapist here in Los Angeles. I've been doing this for about 10 years and I love helping people grow great relationships. Emotional intimacy in particular is one of the things I love helping couples with. It is just so satisfying to see couples come in feeling disconnected and then help them feel more reconnected, closer, and reignite that spark of connection that they've been missing for so long. If your relationship is anything like the ones that I work with here in my private practice, there's a lot you can do to improve this dynamic outside of coming to therapy, although sometimes therapy is the best thing. One of the things that I get my couples do here is practice the key communication tools for emotional intimacy with their partner outside of our sessions. So I've put together a PDF workbook of the skills that I use here, and I'll be totally honest with you, it was entirely selfish of me because I needed to have something to give people I see here. But I've also made it so much more than a reminder of tools. So the Roommate Reset Kit is a series of 5 structured conversations you can have with your partner, plus the tools you need to use in order to actually feel closer and more connected. The questions alone don't get you anywhere. It's how you listen and speak to each other that do. I am a massive fan of these card decks. There's some great ones from Esther Perel, The School of Life, and some of these questions are amazing. Some of them totally make me cringe. But none of these decks that you can buy actually prepare you to speak and listen in the way that fosters emotional connection. The PDF that I've got on offer in the Roommate Reset teaches you the skills that you need, and for each skill, there's an awesome set of questions that progress in depth and vulnerability and help you get closer by talking to each other. Now, the progression is really important because a lot of people feel ambushed when hit with a question along the lines of, tell me your deepest, darkest fears in detail and don't stop until you've used at least 6 Kleenex. That is not sexy. It's not going to make you feel closer, and it actually has the potential of totally backfiring and making you feel further apart and more disconnected. So all of this vulnerability stuff has to be handled delicately. I teach couples in my private practice 5 tools for emotional intimacy. And when you buy this kit, they come with a handy little printout like this, which you get to hold up to gently remind and nudge your partner to either drop in, tune in, move in, dig in, and check in. Drop in addresses the common pattern where people believe that they're sharing feelings when actually they're sharing thoughts. And that's a really big problem for me because emotional intimacy is all about feelings, not thoughts. Dropping in is a reminder to move below your thoughts, opinions, and interpretations to name actual emotional experiences. And this matters because thoughts invite arguments and counter thoughts, whereas feelings foster connection. Move in is a little bit more subtle. It addresses 2 related patterns: the use of we when the speaker actually means I, and it helps people who are more indirect, getting them to be more direct. When a couple I work with comes in and says, we feel like things have been a little bit off between us, it kind of obscures whose experience is being described. So when you say something like, we should spend more time together, it kind of leaves it unclear whether this is a wish, a complaint, or a request. So move in prompts the speaker to take ownership of their experience. That's all about the idea that healthy intimacy requires 2 separate individuals who remain curious about each other rather than a merged unit that assumes that they know and can mind read. Tuning in is all about addressing the gap between hearing the words and making your partner feel understood. Research shows us that perceived responsiveness, whether the speaker feels genuinely received, predicts greater relationship satisfaction much more strongly than what's actually disclosed. So while your partner might look like they're listening, they might actually be formulating responses, preparing counter arguments, or generating advice, and that is listening to lecture. Tuning in prompts the listener to shift to listening to learn. And that, again, is all about developing curiosity, and eagerness to understand what's going on in your partner. And that sounds a bit like emotional intimacy. Checking in addresses the fact that understanding, no matter how genuine, remains totally invisible unless you actually say that you understand it. So a listener can be fully present and deeply empathic, but if they don't reflect that they understand what they're hearing, the speaker's kind of left guessing whether they were heard or not. So check-in prompts the listener to mirror back what they heard and ask for confirmation. Finally, we've got dig in, and that addresses the pattern of leading with anger when there's more vulnerable feelings that are present underneath. Anger feels powerful. It puts us on the offensive rather than leaving us exposed and vulnerable. But anger triggers defensiveness in the listener. Digging in isn't about suppressing anger. It's actually about being more precise, about sharing the full emotional experience with your partner, which is the goal when it comes to emotional intimacy. So click on the links below to find out more. The PDF is only $10, and I think it will go a really long way to help you get out of that roommate rut and feel closer and more connected to your partner. And if you need some fine tuning or coaching through this experience, let me know. There's a whole range of packages, one-on-one sessions and coaching that I can do online, or if you're in Los Angeles, you're welcome to come to the office and do it in person.